in this country, there's a lot of people who still wonder what role, if any, Saudi Arabia had in 9/11. Now, there's a lot of talk about Saudi Arabia, peace with Saudi Arabia, and then you read in the papers, well, Saudi Arabia says yes, but they have a caveat. There needs to be a Palestinian state. Since when did the Palestinians become so important to the Saudi Arabians?
Well, we got the Abraham Accords because we went around the Palestinians. Because the Palestinians, whether they're Hamas or their competitors, the Palestinian Authority, they both want to see the end of Israel. The only difference is Hamas says, let's use it immediately by terror and military means, and the other guys say, no, let's do it by lawfare, by the ICC. Let's put pressure on Israel to withdraw to these indefensible lines where we're 9 miles wide. President Trump says Israel's too small. He cuts to the chase, gets right to the point. And which is right. Well, we can't be any smaller. I mean, we're not going to have an organization that is committed to our destruction 9 miles from the sea. All they have to do is cut us in half and we're dead. So yeah, that's something that may have been debated in Israel, but after October 7th, after the massacre, that's gone. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to say, oh, just give them a Palestinian state. They just had one. It's called Gaza under Hamas. That was an effective Palestinian state. What happened with that, you see, was used as a springboard in an attempt to destroy us. When we complete the changeover of the Middle East, when we cut the Iranian axis down to even further than we've already cut it, when we make sure that Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, when we destroy Hamas, that will set the stage for an additional agreement with the Saudis and with others. By the way, I believe also in the Muslim world, because it's peace through strength. When we are very strong and we stand together, objections that are raised now as insurmountable sort of change. And that happened in the first term. If you looked at what some of our Arab partners were saying or the conditions they had for the Abraham Accords, it's never going to happen. Now, it did happen because we had such a strong partnership. And I'll tell you, I don't want to get into all these verbal exchanges. They're not important. If we're strong, if we're victorious, peace will come, more peace will come, and it will sweep the day. I have no doubt about that.
Mr. Prime Minister, Donald Trump has come up with this plan for Gaza, which is quite revolutionary. About people having the opportunity to move, about cleaning up the territory, about encouraging, or more than encouraging, Egypt and Jordan to take Gazans and so forth. What do you make of all of it?
I think that President Trump's proposal is the first fresh idea in years, and it has the potential to change everything in Gaza. Otherwise, we can keep coming back to the same thing over and over, same old, same old, same old. We leave, but Gaza becomes again reoccupied by these terrorists who use it as a base to attack Israel. And he comes forward and he says, let's have a new idea. By the way, I've seen him do this time and again. He cuts to the chase. He asks you these things or says things that people find it jarring initially. And then I said they scratch their heads. They say, you know what? He's got a point here. And then sometimes, and I hope this time too, they say, he's right, because it happened many times. So it's happened this time too. What is Gaza? Gaza is basically a small area right next to, it's 25 miles from Tel Aviv, which Hamas has used as a springboard for continuous attacks, terrorist attacks against Israel. We come in, we slap them, smack them, and we leave, and then we do it again, and we do it, they do it again, we do it again. It doesn't go anywhere. Now, we did something else. We're going to finish Hamas off. And what happens then? Do you leave the people there with all that devastation? Do you say, well, they have to stay in, confined? Because nobody lets them leave. Everybody describes Gaza as the biggest open-air prison in the world. You know why? Because they're not allowed to leave. And therefore, they're just getting more and more densely populated, more miserable, overtaken time and time again by these terrorists. And in comes President Trump and he says, hey, open the gate, let them leave. And I'll find a place of destination for temporary relocation. How are you going to clean up this devastation site? Devastation caused by the fact that Hamas was fighting from densely populated areas and forced us to take action. They're also devastated by their booby traps that they put there in every house. They did it. A lot of this is self-inflicted. So, get the population out, allow them to leave, not forcible eviction, not ethnic cleansing, getting people out of what all these countries and all these do-gooders say is an open-air prison. Why are you keeping them in prison? All that President Trump is saying, I want to open the gate and give them an option to relocate temporarily while we rebuild the place physically and while we also rebuild it in terms of de-radicalization. You want to come back? You have to disavow terrorism, but you can't come back. Get get the Arab countries, the Gulf countries, and others to finance the reconstruction. They always say that they care about Gaza. Okay, here's a chance to prove it. I think this is a novel approach and the correct approach. It's got details that have to be sorted out, but two things that President Trump has been blamed for are totally false. He never said he wants American troops to do the job. Guess what? We'll do the job, Hamas attacked us, we'll take care of them. We'll finish them off. And the second thing, he didn't say that American taxpayers' money is going to do the job. He said he'd get independent financing for it, and I'm sure he will. So I think this is a very, very good new approach. And rather than discounting it or, guffawing about it or deriding it, I think we should pursue it because I think it's the right approach. Of course, you have to get the destination. You have to get the destination so they can relocate somewhere. I think that's the real issue that is involved here. Volunteering. Once you give them the option, they'll leave. You know how I know that? Because I got requests from Gaza before the war for people who wanted to leave, but they were locked because their neighbors, Egypt, wouldn't open the door. That's the truth. And you know something? Some of them would bribe the gatekeepers, not ours, but the gatekeepers in Egypt, they would bribe them. So the very rich got out. But those who wanted to leave couldn't leave. Give them an option. Give them an option. And I think that's just the right thing to do.